You feel it, don't you? That quiet, persistent sense that you are wasting your life. It's not a loud alarm, but a low, constant hum beneath the surface of your days. You're moving through a world of seemingly meaningless tasks, hollow relationships, and accomplishments that feel strangely empty. You're functional, you're busy, you might even be successful by all outward measures. But you have a nagging, unshakable feeling that there is a deeper, more authentic version of you locked away, watching from a distance as you go through the motions. A part of you that holds your real potential, your real passions, your real life. What if that feeling of stagnation, that profound sense of waste, isn't a sign of your failure? What if it isn't something to be ignored, medicated, or distracted away? What if it is a critical warning? A century ago, the pioneering psychologist Carl Jung, a man who ventured deeper into the human soul than perhaps anyone before or since, gave us a kind of philosophical map. This map suggests that your feeling of being stuck is a vital distress signal from the depths of your own being. It is a summons, a call to adventure. And for Jung, a crucial path out of this wasteland leads directly into the territory you have been taught your entire life to avoid. It is the path of confronting the part of yourself that you have been forced to exile, your inner shadow. To ignore this call, to continue living a life disconnected from your true self, wasn't just about being unhappy. For Jung, it was to risk a profound withering of the soul. He observed that meaninglessness inhibits fullness of life and is therefore equivalent to illness. This video is an exploration of that idea. It is a guide to understanding why you feel the way you do, and a practical manual for how to answer the call, confront what you have hidden, and finally begin to live a life that is truly, authentically your own. Stop and look around you for a moment, not just at your physical surroundings, but at the landscape of your life. How many people do you know who seem to be merely existing, not truly living? How many are following an automatic routine, a script written for them by their family, their culture, their fears? A routine marked by empty commitments, superficial distractions, and a bone-deep fatigue that no amount of sleep can ever resolve. Carl Jung saw this modern malaise, this pervasive sense of emptiness, as a deep psychological issue. He was concerned with man's progressive alienation from his instinctual foundation. He argued that much of the psychological suffering of modern humans, the anxiety, the depression, the gnawing dissatisfaction, stems from a single brutal realization. Your life has lost its meaning. But how does this happen? How do we become strangers in our own existence? Jung's first clue lies in a concept he called the persona. Imagine the persona as a mask. It's not inherently a bad thing. In fact, it's a necessary tool for navigating the social world. You have a persona for work, a persona for your family, a persona for when you're with old friends. It's the curated, socially acceptable version of you. It's the part of you that knows how to fit in and perform the role required in any given situation. The problem doesn't lie in having a persona. The danger arises when we mistake the mask for our actual face. From a very young age, we are taught to cultivate this mask. We get messages, both spoken and unspoken, about which parts of us are acceptable and which are not. Be nice. Don't be angry. Be practical, not a dreamer. To gain approval and a place in the world, we begin the long process of suppressing and disowning every part of ourselves that doesn't fit the approved mold. We become the good student, the responsible employee, the caring partner. We build this persona brick by brick, and the world often rewards us for it. We do everything right, but there is a terrible cost. The energy required to maintain this facade is immense. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes a constant, draining effort. And the parts of us that we push down do not simply disappear. They are relegated to the darkness of our unconscious, where they fester. This is where the feeling of wasting your life is born. It is the cry from the depths, the voice of your abandoned self. That feeling of emptiness is the void left by all the parts of you that you've amputated to fit into a life that is too small for your soul. The hollowness in your accomplishments comes from the fact that it is the persona being rewarded, not the real you. Jung saw that a neurosis was often a sign of this profound inner split. From his perspective, anxiety and depression were not just malfunctions to be managed, but symptoms of a life disconnected from its core. They are the psyche's fever, signaling a deep inner conflict. They are a warning that the path you are on leads to a dead end. In this view, your pain is not just a problem to be solved, it is a message to be deciphered. That feeling of being stuck might be the most honest and important feeling you have. It is the beginning of the journey home. To ignore it is to refuse the call to your own life. Jung believed the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, but he also knew it is a path most avoided, because it requires us to venture into the unknown wilderness of the self. So, you've heeded the warning. You've acknowledged that the quiet dread humming beneath your life is not a flaw, but a compass needle spinning wildly, trying to point you back to true north. But where do you go from here? This is where we must introduce Carl Jung as a master cartographer of the human soul. He didn't just diagnose the illness of the modern spirit. He drew a map for the journey toward healing. This map details a lifelong process he called individuation. Individuation is perhaps Jung's most vital contribution. It is the process by which a person becomes who they were always meant to be. It is the journey of becoming an individual, no longer divided against oneself but a whole, integrated being. It's the path to discovering and living your authentic self, not the self you were conditioned to be. Think of it like this. Your life up to this point has been spent in a single, well-lit room of a vast mansion. This room is your conscious mind, your ego. It's familiar, it feels safe, but you've always sensed there's more to the house. Individuation is the process of finding the keys, unlocking the doors to the other rooms, and exploring the entire mansion of your psyche. This is not self-improvement in the usual sense. The world tells you to add more, to become better, faster, stronger. Jung's wisdom says the opposite. It's not about adding, but integrating. It's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming whole. Wholeness, for Jung, meant courageously embracing all parts of yourself, the light and the dark, the noble and the shameful. This journey, as drawn on Jung's map, has several crucial landmarks. The first and most formidable landmark is the shadow. The shadow is the first room you must enter. It contains all the parts of yourself that you have disowned and repressed. It is everything you have decided that you are not. It is your dark side, but as we will see, it is also the source of immense power and vitality. Confronting the shadow is an essential step. Without it, further progress is profoundly difficult. Further into the mansion, you will encounter the anima and animus. These are the archetypal representations of the inner opposite gender. For a man, the anima is the unconscious feminine aspect. For a woman, the animus is the unconscious masculine aspect. The animus is the unconscious masculine. Integrating this inner partner is key to achieving psychological balance and creativity. Finally, at the very center of the mansion lies the self. The self is not the ego. The ego is the I you think you are. The self, in Jungian terms, is the totality of the psyche, conscious and unconscious. It is the organizing principle, the complete and whole you. The goal of individuation is not for the ego to become the self, but to enter into a conscious relationship with it, to let the ego move from being a tyrant to being a servant of this deeper, wiser center. This map doesn't promise an easy journey. In fact, it guarantees the opposite. It is a call to a life of conscious struggle and radical self-honesty. But it is the primary path that leads to what you are truly seeking. A life of meaning, purpose, and authenticity. Of all the territories on Jung's map, none is more feared or more vital than the shadow. If you're serious about no longer wasting your life, your journey must begin here. Because your unlived life is buried in this darkness, guarded by a dragon of your own making. In Jung's words, the shadow is the thing a person has no wish to be. It is the unconscious, hidden part of your personality, the repository for everything you've disowned about yourself. Now, when we hear dark side, our minds leap to the negative, our anger, envy, greed, and selfishness. And yes, all of that is in there. The parts of you capable of cruelty, the shameful thoughts, the secret desires, they all live in the shadow. But this is where most people make a critical mistake. They assume the shadow is purely evil. This couldn't be further from the truth. The shadow is not inherently evil. It is simply what has been rejected. And what we reject is not always negative. Think about it. Did you grow up where ambition was seen as selfish? Your ambition went into the shadow. Were you taught that expressing anger was unacceptable? Your capacity for righteous anger and setting firm boundaries went into the shadow. Were you told that being artistic was impractical, or that being sensitive was weak? Your creativity and your empathy were exiled to the shadow. The shadow, therefore, is also a reservoir of positive qualities. It contains creative impulses, realistic insights, and unexpressed talents. A significant portion of your power, vitality, and authenticity is locked away in this forgotten room. So, how does the shadow show up? Since it's unconscious, you can't see it directly, but you can see its effects. Let's look at a few common ways an unintegrated shadow makes its presence known. First, through projection. This is the most common sign. Projection is when you unconsciously take a quality of your own that you can't accept and attribute it to someone else. That person at work you find unbearably arrogant? They may be carrying your own disowned ambition. That friend whose laziness drives you into a rage? They might be reflecting your own suppressed desire to rest. The people who trigger a strong emotional reaction in you are often mirrors, reflecting back a piece of your own shadow. Second, through self-sabotage. Ever had things going perfectly, only to do something that inexplicably ruins it all? This is often the shadow acting out. The parts of you that have been ignored will eventually find a way to make themselves known, often in destructive ways. They would rather burn the house down than remain invisible. Third, through a pervasive sense of stagnation and powerlessness. The act of repressing your shadow is monumentally draining. Imagine the energy it takes to hold back your anger, your passion, your true opinions. This energy is being diverted from living your life. The result is a feeling of being perpetually tired and stuck. You feel like you're walking through mud because the part of you with the strength to leap forward is chained in the dungeon. Confronting this is what Jung called the essential condition for any kind of self-knowledge. He famously stated, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." So, how do we make the darkness conscious? This is shadow work. It is not a battle, but a process of integration. Here are a few ways to begin. 1. Become the projection detective. Pay radical attention to your emotional triggers. The next time someone makes you unreasonably angry or judgmental, stop. Ask the difficult question, what in them is also in me that I am refusing to see? Keep a journal. Write about how that very quality might exist in you, even in a small way. This is the beginning of taking back your projections. 2. Engage in active imagination. This was one of Jung's primary tools. It's a form of waking dream, a conscious dialogue with the figures of your unconscious. You can do this through journaling or quiet meditation. Bring to mind a figure that represents a part of your shadow. Personify it. Ask it questions. What do you want? What do you need from me? Listen for the answers without judgment. You are trying to build a relationship with it. 3. Find the gold in the darkness. Integration is about harnessing the shadow's energy for constructive use. Your repressed anger contains the power to set healthy boundaries. Your envy points directly to what you desire. Your fear can become a source of caution and wisdom. When you feel a shadow aspect rising, don't suppress it. Don't act it out blindly either. Instead, hold it in your conscious awareness. Feel its raw energy. Then ask, what is the positive potential of this energy? How can this power be used in service of my life? This work is not easy. It requires humility and courage. But as you begin to integrate your shadow, the energy you once used to suppress it is liberated. You become more whole, more authentic, and more powerful. The dragon you feared was guarding a hoard of your own treasure. Integrating the shadow is the courageous first step that unlocks the door to the rest of your inner mansion. But the journey of individuation is a lifelong commitment to psychological and spiritual wholeness. Once you have begun to make the darkness conscious, you gain access to new tools and territories on Jung's map. One of the most profound next steps involves the anima and animus. As mentioned, these represent the unconscious contrasexual aspect of the psyche. In a man, the anima is the inner feminine, the source of his capacity for relationship, creativity, and connection to the soul. In a woman, the animus is the inner masculine, the source of her logic, assertiveness, and focused intent. While these classical definitions are rooted in a binary view of gender, contemporary Jungians often interpret them more fluidly as energies present in everyone. Living an individuated life means consciously developing a relationship with this inner figure. For someone disconnected from their inner feminine, anima, this means cultivating a capacity for feeling and creative intuition. For someone disconnected from their inner masculine, animus, it means developing independent thought and harnessing focused energy. Integrating these aspects brings balance. As you walk this path of inner integration, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to notice what Jung called synchronicity. Synchronicity is Jung's term for a meaningful coincidence. It's when an inner event, a thought or a dream, is mirrored by an outer event in a way that feels profoundly significant, yet has no clear cause and effect link. The most famous example from Jung's practice involved a patient describing a dream about a golden scarab beetle. Just then, Jung heard a tapping at the window, opened it, and caught a scarab-like beetle. He handed it to her, saying, "Here is your scarab." This event shattered her overly rational mindset and marked a breakthrough in her analysis. Synchronistic events are like signals from the deeper self. They are moments when the division between your inner and outer worlds becomes porous. You can't force them, but you can create the conditions to notice them. The key is attention. When a strange coincidence occurs, don't dismiss it. Pause, reflect, ask yourself, what is the symbolic meaning of this event for me right now? These moments often act as signposts from your deeper self. Finally, all of this work is supported by developing a conscious attitude. Wasting your life is often a passive drift. Living a life of purpose, therefore, must be an active, conscious choice. Jung emphasized that only a change in the attitude of the individual can initiate a change in the psychology of the nation. This involves several practices. First, embrace small, deliberate actions. Momentum is built through small, consistent steps. Choose one small action that aligns with the person you want to become and do it. This builds self-trust. Second, confront pain consciously. Our culture often teaches us to numb pain. Jung taught the opposite. He suggested that neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. When suffering arises, instead of immediately distracting yourself, turn toward it. Sit with the discomfort. Ask what it is here to teach you. Pain is often the chisel that sculpts us. Third, align your intentions. While Jung didn't believe in simple wishful thinking, he understood the power of belief. A core Jungian idea is that the unconscious powerfully responds to what we deeply and consistently hold in our minds as true. By consciously and repeatedly affirming your chosen path, you are programming your unconscious to work with you, not against you. This is the practical work of reclaiming your life. It is about becoming an active participant in your own unfolding. If this journey of self-discovery resonates with you, consider subscribing for more insights into living a deeper, more authentic life. And I have a question for you. What is one quality you often admire or are irritated by in others that you suspect might be a piece of your own hidden gold, a lost part of your own shadow? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be the very synchronicity someone else needs to see today. We began with a feeling, that quiet, unsettling sense that life is slipping through your fingers. We have journeyed through the shadowy landscapes of the human psyche, following a map drawn by Jung. And what we have discovered is that this feeling, this pain, is not a curse. It is a sacred summons. It is the call of your unlived life. The path Jung lays out is not for the faint of heart. It is a demand for courage, the courage to turn and face the aspects of yourself you have spent a lifetime denying, to dismantle the comfortable persona, and to stand naked before the truth of who you are. But the alternative, as Jung observed, is a life devoid of its essential meaning. It is to arrive at the end of your days and realize you never truly lived at all, to have spent your precious time in a state of self-imposed anesthesia. Jung wrote that, to the extent that a man is untrue to the law of his being, he has failed to realize his own life's meaning. The journey of individuation is the process of answering this call. By confronting your shadow, you reclaim your power. By integrating your inner opposite, you find balance. By heeding the whispers of synchronicity, you learn to dance with the mystery. By cultivating a conscious attitude, you become the active creator of your destiny. You stop wasting your life not by doing more, but by being more. Your choices begin to align with your deepest values. Your relationships become more authentic. Even your suffering changes. It is no longer a meaningless punishment, but a transformative fire. The greatest tragedy is not death. The greatest tragedy is a life that was never lived. The parts of you that you have exiled are waiting. They are patient. They hold the key to the life you ache to live. The question is no longer if you will hear their call, because you are hearing it right now. The only question that remains is, when will you answer? Your real life does not begin when you find the perfect job or the perfect circumstances. It begins in the quiet, courageous moment you decide to stop running, to turn inward, and to finally, truly find yourself.